guys, tomorrow in Dallas, Texas is the opening of the George W. Bush Presidential Library. It's a ceremony that will be attended by every living president: Obama, Carter, George Sr., Clinton, and of course George W. himself. Now, for those of you who've never been to a presidential library, it's not your typical book depository. It's more like a giant pharaoh's tomb, boasting a shrine of the most highly coveted presidential artifacts. You know, like the pen he wrote with or the chair they sat on. Bush's library will hold 43,000 of these kinds of artifacts, in addition to 70 million pages of paper records. It's basically a big museum, highlighting the most prominent events that have defined his presidency. And of course, Bush is intimately involved in the planning of the library, insisting on an objective presentation of the most controversial policies he oversaw. Oh, that's great. Well, it'll take a second to go over the timeline that we should expect to see in this lavish tomb. Starting with 9/11, the first major event that set the stage for Bush's reign of terror. This event alone should have brought Bush and his cronies to trial for criminal negligence at the very best. But moving on to Afghanistan, a preemptive war against a sovereign nation that posed no immediate threat to the U.S. In fact, Taliban officials at the time even said that they would hand over bin Laden with evidence linking him to 9/11. Yet instead of providing that, the Bush administration decided to invade a country that we're still occupying to this very day. And of course, then there was Iraq, the biggest botched operation in recent history. It was an illegal war of aggression based on known lies that violated the UN Charter. And the decade-long occupation resulted in 1 million dead and $3 trillion squandered. But let's not forget the infamous torture program, which was claimed to be the fault of a few bad apples, ended up being an institutionalized top-down policy of torture and abuse, ranging from waterboarding to sexual humiliation. Look, Guantanamo alone is a crime against humanity. The facility that still remains open to this day keeps 166 people caged like animals with absolutely no charges. But it wasn't just torturing detainees. It was also the willful killing and targeting of civilians in the battlefield. The military, under direct orders from the Bush administration, set rules of engagement to shoot any suspects, including women and children, which resulted in such horrors as the Haditha massacre of 2006. And aside from Bush's notoriously failed and delayed response to help Hurricane Katrina victims, he was busy implementing draconian measures to ramp up the surveillance state right here at home. Most notably the Patriot Act, which stood in clear violation of the Bill of Rights, including the First, Fourth, and Sixth Amendments. But that's not all. Bush is also widely regarded as the mastermind behind the warrantless spying program implemented all across the country. And sure, there's more. I'm sure there's more that the library will feature to show a fair representation of the facts, like Bush's continued refusal to execute the law over 1,100 times, or his attempt to pardon himself and all of his cabinet officials right before leaving office. So, in light of all of this, I'm fully expecting the library to display a giant plaque of Bush's face with the words "war criminal" underneath. Because as I just clearly outlined, this man, along with his criminal cabal, is responsible for war crimes and felonies that under the Geneva Conventions are punishable by death. But despite these uncomfortable truths, it seems like people are very quick to forgive and forget. According to a new Washington Post ABC News poll, 47% of Americans now approve of Bush's presidency. So it's already working. And this presidential library will just cement this revision of history, as Bush's true legacy will be washed away.